Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. Okay, open that book. J. Scott Campbell, Danger Girl Sketchbook. First things first, there'll be a link below to Jeff's official website. I want you all to go and support him. He's a good friend of mine. This was a coincidence, though. I'm telling you, this was the first request for the storytelling spotlight. But, I had said in the intro video to that series that it's incredibly important that we actually look at this first because you need to understand the thought process of Jeff. I have the advantage of I shared an office with Jeff when he was actually creating Danger Girl. I wasn't there every second. He did a lot of it at home, but I'm pretty aware of how Jeff put something together, and this book is just you have to get it. If you don't have this and you're a fan of his work, you need to get it. So anyway, let's get to it. So what we're focusing on here is just Jeff's thought process. So I mean, obviously that's a nice piece. This Open That Book is going to really focus on his preparation to do a book and not so much on the finished pieces. So we're still going to enjoy the art. But okay, first things first, Jeff is an incredibly solid artist. You have to understand that Jeff, even when I first met him, and he was on the second issue of the Danger Girl ongoing series, not the 5-issue miniseries, but the ongoing, he was really, really consistent with his work. And how he got that way, and you can see it in this book, is he really works things out. He has a very deliberate and almost like animation style template that he uses for each character. So when Jeff creates a character, it's not uncommon for him to maybe create a turnaround of the character. So he can really know, okay, this is what the character looks like from the front. This is what she looks like from the side. This is what she looks like from the back. And it's a grab bag when we're going through these pages. So, I mean, I'm not going to be able to show each example. I'm going to try to find one really fast of, like here he is working out Major Maxim. And he'll try different things until he finds pieces that he likes, and then those will carry over into a more finalized version of a character. I remember the day that he brought in these logos for the hammers, and it's funny because he had as you can see, there's the Nazi, the USSR. He had one that was the Marilyn Manson Antichrist Superstar logo, and he just keeps plucking at things until he dials it in. Now, this is a very time-consuming approach to starting a book, but if you have the time to do it, it's something to consider. And some of this stuff was never used. Probably a lot of it was never used. But here we go. Yeah, it gets pretty good here. So. It's just tricky doing an Open That Book and having it tie in with this series, but essentially, okay, so here's some layouts. So what Jeff does when he lays out a page is he will take a full-size 11 by 17 comic board. He splits it into 4, and he does these very, very tight thumbnails, or I guess you would call them, underdrawings, preparatory. He's positioning everything, but I mean, even with something like this, you don't really see a lot of wasted stuff. There's not 15 versions of the guy's arms, in all these different positions. He really, it's just, he's so incredibly solid with how he draws, that there's not a lot of wasted, drawing time. I mean, I think these are probably the idea sketches. So when he's trying to come up with a pose, he probably does these real quick thumbnails, and these are probably smaller. I would say that they're maybe an inch or two big, and so he'll figure out okay, I want Abby Chase in this pose, and then you can see here more that's probably his quarter of a page version of it. And then he'll blow it up to size, and he'll do his tight drawing to fit the size of the paper that he wants. And now he may actually even do this on the computer. That I don't know. I wasn't around him after Danger Girl, so I don't know what how he preps pages now, but again, you can see he has a very, very solid structure. Again, I mean, I'm not saying that animation was the only thing that he would use, but you can see how these are almost like things that you would see animators doing to have ideas for the character. Like, what does the face look like when it starts to squish? When she starts to smile, she's, irritated or upset or screaming, angry, I mean, he covers all the bases. Again, this is a lot of work to do on the front end of something. I mean, if you got hired to really quickly do a Wolverine story, you may not have the time to devote to this process, but this is what Jeff does going into a book, J. Scott. And one thing that Jeff does that he doesn't show in this book, but he would create reference files, and now he may do it digitally, but he had a lot of notebooks with attractive faces, vehicles, whatever it was, and he would keep this stuff pretty organized, and he had quite a few of them. They weren't all at the studio. I had seen more at his house, but save for Abby Chase, he might have had a notebook that had all the different things that he had found along the way that he thought kind of captured her look. And Jeff is really, really great at caricature. So, later on Wildsiders, you might have seen where, he kind of like will sometimes place actors, like you go, hey, that looks like Jack Black, or this character looks like Sean Connery, or this character looks like, this actress or something. And I think it helps him, create like a rule book for the character, but his stuff never looks reference heavy, which is I think a nice and kind of it keeps his stuff fresh. He has his style down. He's able to use reference, assimilate it into his work, and it always looks like a J. Scott Campbell drawing, which is really, really great. I mean, he even will break down like hair, how chunks of hair will flow certain ways, and some of this was done for sometimes other people's benefits. So like in this book, here, like Sydney's hair, these are probably for like the Danger Girl toys, if I was gonna guess. Yeah, they are, because here's the little, what do you call it, like this, the scene that the characters were sitting in. But even still, I mean, it's amazing that Jeff thinks of stuff like this way. There's nobody that I've ever worked with that breaks stuff down this much, at least not on a regular basis. Jim Lee goes right to the big board. He tries things, he's erasing things. It can get pretty messy and chaotic, and ultimately he ends up with a real nice and very, very confident looking drawing. And some people kind of fudge around and maybe have very light pencils, and they kind of work it out. And Jeff has got all this stuff going on in his head. I mean, this is how he thinks of things. And again, this will just be helpful when we look at the comic book, because you realize, I'm not saying that he did all of this before the book. Some of this was done while he was working on the book. Some of it was done afterwards. But it's the thought process. It's the preparation that is involved in what he does, and why it's so solid, why it's so consistent, why it's, honestly so well done. He would have gun reference folders. Again, I didn't really see him like have the stuff out when he was drawing, but I think it just all was like the ingredients that got his imagination going, that got the structure and the foundation so solid. And again, I'm going to show the cover of the book real quick, and if you don't have this, you can get it in a soft cover version. This is from the Absolute Danger Girl, so this is the hardcover, and it's a little bit oversized. It's probably 12 inches tall, 13, 14 inches tall, and maybe 12 inches wide, but the other one's a little smaller. But okay, so let's go back here. So I feel like I'm rushing a little bit, but again, this isn't exactly like the old format of the Open That Book, because we're leading into Jeff's storytelling. This is a great piece. And there'll be a bit of a learning curve on these videos for me too, in terms of the storyteller spotlight. I mean, I'll definitely improve at it as I move along, and you know, with questions and feedback from you all, it will help dial it in. So anyway, these are turnarounds for PVCs, it says. But, you know, I think, you know, the key to being a fan of like J. Scott's work in some ways is you don't really have to copy his stuff to admire it. You know, you can just use the same thought process with your own sense of aesthetics. You know, don't be so tempted to think that you need to draw the faces exactly like Jeff. Maybe you have a nose that you like, or that you stumbled upon, that you want to use, or a shape of the eye that you think is nice, and then just try to do the same approach to it. Do you see what I'm saying? Is you can be influenced by the care and the quality that someone like Jeff puts into his art without mimicking it all. You know, you don't have to draw the mouth just like Jeff. You don't have to draw the hands just like Jeff, whatever it is. You know, come up with your own version of it, but then just put this amount of effort and thought into it. This is such a nice book. I mean, I remember telling Jeff when he was putting this together, I'm like, you should just put it together as like a how to draw comics the J. Scott Campbell way, because you're basically, this is like one of the best drawing books that I've ever seen. You know, like it really kind of has everything. All he needed to do is just have like little sort of like, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3, you know, added, and I mean, it was good to go. But Jeff has gone on to do like all these amazing sketchbooks and art books and stuff like that. So, you know, they're always really cool. They're always just totally, these are video game storyboards, but holy cow, I mean, it's just crazy. The guy put so much work into his stuff, but you can see that when you draw this much, what are the rewards that he reaped from putting this much work into his stuff? I mean, it's why he's one of the best. So, okay, well, let's kind of head back. Hey, these I inked. So yeah, these are pieces that I actually inked. How funny. He used Alex Garner as an inker for quite a long time, but towards the end, there was more opportunities to sort of get in. I inked all of these. Wow, this is crazy. These are Sandra Hope, though. This one is... I see like a slight difference. Like Sandra kind of makes the faces like a tiny bit more pointy than I did. That one my signature's not on, but I did ink that. I inked that. Yes, even on these, the noses are kind of pointy. Sandy made it a little tiny bit more pointy. I did ink this. But yeah, okay, so I think this is a pretty decent lead-in to what we've got going on, which is going to be the Danger Girl first issue. We're going to go over the storytelling on it, and again, it's not so much a how to draw like J. Scott Campbell series, but we're going to dissect what we think is the thought process behind his art, how he lays out pages, and what I'll do is I may do a part 2 of this video where I actually go through as a more traditional open that book, and we can go a little slower and just kind of enjoy the eye candy on this. But yeah, I can't really recommend this book enough. And again, there'll be a link in the description below where you can sorry for the glare, where you can go to his site and possibly order it there. And if not, he has tons of other sketchbooks and stuff like that. I just like the ground on this piece and like the manhole. I mean, just little attentions to detail like that are so nice. Jeff really, like, he just has such a great imagination, and he knows how to put really cool elements into just all of his pieces. These are cool. But yeah, here's some this little cover idea. Some storytelling. See, so these are probably his tiny thumbnails. These are definitely not the bigger ones. So he'll do these probably at any random size, although knowing Jeff, he He probably does have like an exact size that he was doing them at. I don't know. They might have been like 2 or 3 inches big, um, and then those, once he gets some stuff that he likes, then he will like layout, and then he blows it up to the quarter size of the 11 by 17. And then once he's got all the structure down in a pretty solid form, that's the one that he'll blow up to full size and then light box and put in all the detail. Let me see if I can find one more example of that really fast. Like this would kind of be the underdrawing. So he's got quite a bit of the detail, and even sometimes like, you know, he'll put the costumes in. He doesn't always. I mean, I think, like, again, this is a pretty good example, like where the clothes are in and stuff like that, but he still will add more detail to that. Okay, so I hope that helps and is a good lead-in to the first storyteller spotlight and gives you some insight into Jeff's thing. I mean, he definitely prepares by creating, what do they call them? Like concept artists do it, where they create like a board of all the reference that they're going to use, and they'll sometimes open it up like in Photoshop in another file, have it kind of sitting there with all the ideas, color palettes that they might want to use or whatever. So, you know, Jeff definitely came from that school of thought, and he would be very, very prepared. If he knew he was going to need to draw a Jeep, he would have his Jeep stuff ready to go. You know, and none of it was literal. That's the thing, is it wasn't like he wasn't like light boxing an exact shot of a Jeep that he found. I mean, he would draw it. He solid enough that he could take any of that stuff and put it into whatever world he was creating. It didn't limit him or put him into a corner. Okay, all right. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, this is what's going on underneath Jeff's work. And that is why it is so solid and so consistent all the time. There's one more piece that I'm looking for. Oh, maybe it's... you know what? It's in the back of the other book. Okay, all right. Well, thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to you all in a bit. Probably tomorrow I will upload the first Storyteller Spotlight. All right? Thanks. Talk to you all later. Bye.